The morning sun rose over New Cascadia like it had for 60 years, golden, peaceful, ordinary. Haven City stretched across green valleys beneath snow-capped mountains. 18 million people called this beautiful world home. Children walked to school, workers headed to their jobs, farmers tended fields. Nobody suspected that in 3 hours their entire civilization would become ashes and screams. High above the planet, hidden behind the largest moon, 200 warships waited in absolute silence. They belonged to the Vrithkai Dominion, a species that had ruled space for 10,000 years. The Vrithkai were tall and gaunt, with gray skin like corpses and eyes like pools of oil. They looked at other species and saw only 2 categories: threats to eliminate or resources to harvest. For 50 years they had watched humanity spread across the stars. They had studied human colonies, counted human ships, measured human strength. Their conclusion was inevitable. Humans were weak, young, technologically primitive, with no powerful allies and no battle-tested fleets. Perfect prey. Commander Vrithak stood on his flagship's bridge, looking at the blue-green world below. He felt nothing but hunger. "Begin the attack," he said. The Vrithkai fleet descended like death itself. They came around the moon before anyone understood what was happening. New Cascadia's 12 defense stations opened fire. 12 stations against 200 warships. They lasted 4 minutes. The first bombs fell on Haven City at 9:47 in the morning. Maria Santos was walking her 7-year-old daughter Sophia to school when the sky turned orange. She looked up and saw fire falling from the clouds. She grabbed Sophia's hand and ran, but there was nowhere to run. The streets filled with screaming people. Buildings collapsed in waves of thunder and flame. The air became furnace hot, thick with smoke and burning. Maria found shelter in a basement with 30 other terrified civilians. They huddled together in darkness, listening to the world ending above them. Sophia kept asking why this was happening. Maria had no answer. No human did. The bombing lasted 6 hours. When it stopped, the silence was worse than the explosions. Then the landing ships came down. Thousands of Vrithkai soldiers poured into the ruined cities. They weren't there to conquer. They were there to harvest. They separated survivors with brutal efficiency. The elderly and sick were executed immediately. They had no commercial value. The young and healthy were chained and loaded onto transport vessels to be taken to Vrithkai space, where they would work in mines and factories until they died. Maria and Sophia were separated on the loading platform. Maria screamed and fought, but a Vrithkai soldier struck her unconscious. When she woke hours later in a dark metal cell with hundreds of other humans, her daughter was gone. She would never see Sophia again. The attack lasted 3 days. When the Vrithkai departed, they had taken 4 million humans as slaves. They left 14 million dead. Haven City was nothing but ash and rubble. The forests were burned. The rivers were poisoned. A world that had been beautiful was now a graveyard filled with the bones of children. The first rescue ships from Earth arrived 2 weeks later. Captain James Chen walked through the ruins of Haven City with tears streaming from his face. His brother's family had lived here, his brother, sister-in-law, and their 3 children. He searched for 5 days straight, barely sleeping. He found only their names on a list of confirmed dead. Standing in the ashes of their home, Chen made a promise written in his heart with fire and grief. Someone would pay for this. Someone would answer for the 18 million. News spread across human space like a shockwave. On Earth, people wept in the streets. On 17 colony worlds, families desperately searched casualty lists. The entire human species had been wounded in a way they'd never experienced. They had known war on their own world, but this was different, something alien and cruel, something that saw them as animals to be slaughtered or sold. The United Earth Federation sent an emergency petition to the Galactic Concord, the great council where 12 elder races made decisions affecting all known space. The Concord was supposed to maintain peace, to protect the weak from the strong. Surely they would help. Ambassador Elena Vasquez traveled to the Concorde's Great Station, a massive structure floating in neutral space, older than human civilization. She entered the Presidium chamber, determined to make them understand. The chamber was vast, with seats rising in circles. Representatives of 12 ancient species looked down at her, beings made of crystal, stone, metal, and things she couldn't identify. All of them were old, all powerful, and all looked at her like a child who had wandered where she didn't belong. Elena stood on the central platform, her voice steady despite the rage burning inside her. 18 million of my people are dead. 4 million have been taken as slaves. The colony of New Cascadia has been destroyed. This attack was completely unprovoked. We come before this Concorde seeking justice. We ask for the return of our people, for punishment of those responsible, for guarantees this will never happen again. Silence followed. Then the Vrithkai representative arose. Krethfor looked at Elena with oil-black eyes and spoke with open contempt. The human representative speaks of murder and slavery as if these are unusual things. They are not. The galaxy is not gentle. The strong take from the weak. This has always been true. Humanity is young and has not learned their place. Perhaps this lesson, though painful, will teach them wisdom. Elena felt her hands clench. You call the murder of children a lesson? I call it reality, Krethfor replied. The Vrithkai needed workers. Your colony had workers. We took them. This is how the galaxy operates. If humanity dislikes it, perhaps humanity should become stronger. The chamber erupted in discussion. Elena heard words like unfortunate and regrettable and complicated. She heard discussions about trade agreements with the Vrithkai, about economic relationships, about political alliances. Everything except the word justice. After 3 hours, the Primarch, an ancient being of living stone, raised his hand for silence. The Concorde has reached a decision. The Vrithkai will pay a financial settlement to humanity. Additionally, a formal apology will be issued. The matter is considered closed. Elena stared in disbelief. Financial settlement? 18 million dead, and you offer us money? The Concorde has spoken. This is our decision. What about the slaves? What about 4 million humans being worked to death right now? The Primarch paused. The internal practices of Concorde members are not subject to regulation. The Vrithkai are free to manage their workforce as they see fit.
Elena looked around at these ancient beings who had forgotten what it meant to be young and weak and hurt. So this is your justice, money and empty words. Humanity is not a Concorde member, the Primarch stated. You are observers. You have no rights except those we grant you. Something broke inside Elena. Not her heart, that had already broken, but her faith that help would come if you asked reasonably. She understood now that humanity was alone. Krethfor spoke again. You should accept the settlement, Ambassador. Humanity is small. You cannot fight us. You have no power. Take the money, mourn your dead, and move on. Elena turned to face him. You say we have no power. You may be right. Today we are weak, young, alone. But we are human, the species that survived ice ages and plagues and wars, the species that crawled from caves to reach the stars, the species that never gives up. She walked toward the exit, then stopped. You will remember this day. You had a choice. You could have stood with us. Instead, you chose money over blood, convenience over honor. That was your choice. Now live with it. Behind her, some representatives laughed, a young species making threats. How ridiculous. Elena returned to Earth and gave her report. When she finished, President Martinez asked what she recommended. Her voice was hard and cold. I recommend we accept nothing. I recommend we remember everything. And I recommend we prepare for the day we can speak to the galaxy in the only language it understands, power. The Council voted unanimously. Humanity would not accept the settlement. Humanity would not forgive. Humanity would not forget. 3 months later, Martinez gave a speech broadcast to every human world. We have been told we are weak, young, worthless. We have been told to accept the murder of our children and move on. They are wrong. He announced Project Phoenix, the largest undertaking in human history. In 30 years, humanity would become a power the galaxy could not ignore. We will not forget our dead. Their memory will fuel us. One day, when we are ready, we will demand the justice we were denied, not as beggars, as equals. The response was overwhelming. On every world, people volunteered for whatever was needed. The economy restructured for war production. Luxury goods became rare as resources went to weapons research and ship construction. People accepted rationing without complaint. When asked why, the answer was always the same: for New Cascadia, for the 18 million. The education system was revolutionized. Every school taught what had happened. Every child learned names of the dead. Sophia Santos, age 7. Michael Chen, age 12. Emma Okafor, age 5. The names were recited like sacred prayers, binding generations together. The military expanded tenfold. Young people raised on stories of New Cascadia enlisted in massive numbers. Captain James Chen rose through the ranks rapidly because he was brilliant, understanding space combat in revolutionary ways. The Vrithkai expect predictable tactics, he told students. We will give them nightmares. He developed new warfare doctrines: speed over strength, coordination over glory, constant adaptation. The enemy would face not a fleet, but an intelligent, relentless swarm. Dr. Sarah Kim led weapons research. She had lost her daughter in the attack. Every morning she looked at a photograph of a smiling girl, then went to work designing weapons that could crack planets. We will not start fights, she told her team, but when fights come, we will end them so completely that no one will ever attack us again. Her team made breakthrough after breakthrough: better engines, stronger shields, weapons that could punch through supposedly unbreakable defenses. Everything was kept secret. Human merchant ships still used old technology. Human defenses remained modest. Everything new was hidden behind the curtain. Shipyards were built in asteroid belts and gas giant moons in complete secrecy. Ships were constructed underground in hollowed asteroids invisible to scans. Admiral Chen watched the first new warship emerge, beautiful and terrifying, with sleek black hull and devastating weapons. He named the class Vengeance. By year 10, they had 1,000 hidden warships. By year 20, 5,000. Production was accelerating toward 10,000. The Concorde's intelligence occasionally reported unusual human activity, but always concluded humanity was building their economy to cope with trauma. They posed no threat, still weak, young, insignificant. The analysts measured human activity against known capabilities, not realizing those capabilities had fundamentally changed. The Vrithkai grew bolder. 10 years after New Cascadia, they raided Far Haven, taking 200,000 slaves. Humanity didn't respond militarily. Earth expressed deep concern at the Concorde. Human ships continued peaceful trade. The Vrithkai laughed. Humans were completely domesticated. 20 years later, they attacked Prosperity, taking 500,000. Again, no military response. They are broken, Krethvor told the Concorde. They know their place. Behind the curtain, each attack's recordings were shown to every human old enough to understand. The screams, the fire, the families torn apart. Each atrocity added fuel to the burning fire in human hearts. After Prosperity, Admiral Chen gathered his officers. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fury. How much longer? His chief replied, 10 years to optimal readiness, but we could strike now, 7,000 ships, trained crews. No, Chen said, we wait. We make ourselves so strong that when we finally move, there will be no doubt about the outcome. Our children have waited 20 years for justice. They can wait 10 more. When we strike once, completely, and never have to strike again. The 31st anniversary began like every one before. Humans across 17 worlds woke before dawn, gathered with family, and at 9:47 a.m. lit candles and spoke names of the dead. But this year was different. Admiral Chen stood on his flagship, Remembrance. Around him, 9,000 warships hung in space, hidden behind a dead star. Every ship fully crewed, every weapon loaded, every engine ready. He looked at the candle on his console, lit for his brother's family. For 30 years, he had carried their memory. For 30 years, he had prepared.
All ships ready, Admiral, awaiting your order. Chen looked at the flame one last time, then extinguished it. The time for mourning is over. Now begins the time for justice. He opened a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Chen. 31 years ago, our children burned. Our families were taken. Our cries for justice were answered with laughter. Today, we give our answer. We fight for the 18 million. We fight so no human child will ever be taken in chains again. The galaxy told us we were weak. We have become strong. The galaxy told us to accept our place at the bottom. Today, we show them where our place truly is. All ships, engage engines, jump to Vrithkai space. The reckoning begins. 9,000 ships vanished in flashes of light. The largest military action in human history happened in perfect silence. No announcements, no warnings, just cold, patient vengeance. Commander Vrithak was eating breakfast in his mansion on Vrith Prime when servants reported ships appearing in orbit. What ships? Human, Commander, thousands of them. For the first time in 30 years, Vrithak felt fear. He pulled up the orbital display, and his black eyes went wide. Space around their homeworld was filling with ships, hundreds at a time, black hulls gleaming with alien weapons, moving in perfect formation to surround the planet like a closing fist. Impossible, he whispered. The Vrithkai defense fleet scrambled, 300 ships against the invaders, confident in 10,000 years of combat experience. The battle lasted 4 hours. It wasn't a battle, it was a demonstration. Human ships moved faster than anything the Vrithkai had seen. Their weapons punched through impenetrable shields, their tactics constantly adapted. It was like fighting ghosts with unlimited firepower and perfect coordination. Enemy flagship destroyed, Chen's tactical officer reported. Enemy fleet down to 47 vessels attempting retreat. Don't let them escape. We need prisoners to locate the slave camps. Human boarding parties moved with professional efficiency, securing prisoners and treating wounded enemies with basic medical care. This surprised the Vrithkai. Why not kill us? One captain asked his guard. Lieutenant Park looked at him with cold eyes. Because we're not like you. We want justice, not cruelty. Those responsible will answer for crimes. We're not monsters, but don't mistake mercy for weakness. Your species killed 18 million of us. We have a list of everyone who planned or profited. They will all face justice. The captain saw something more terrifying than any weapon in her eyes. Absolute certainty her cause was right and her victory inevitable. Vrithak fled his mansion as human ships appeared overhead. He ran through panicking streets, old legs weak from years of being carried by slaves. A transport landed before him. Soldiers emerged. Commander Vrithak, you're under arrest for crimes against humanity, the new Cascadia massacre, resulting in 18 million deaths and 4 million enslaved. Elena Vasquez stepped forward, tall with gray hair and grief-lined face. My name is Elena Vasquez. 31 years ago, I asked the Concord for justice. You laughed. Your representative told me to accept scraps and be grateful. Do you remember what I said? I said you would remember that day. You chose wrong, Commander. Now face the consequences. The trials lasted months, broadcast across the galaxy. Vrithak and 3,000 officials faced human justice tribunals. Evidence was presented, attack recordings, survivor testimonies, planning documents, medical reports from camps. Vrithak tried defending himself, claiming he followed tradition. Slavery is natural, the strong take from the weak. Dr. Kim activated displays showing camp images.
Starvation, mass graves, children born in chains. This is your tradition. This is what happens to species that make such traditions their civilization's basis. Rithak received the harshest sentence: life in a facility, listening to survivor testimonies daily. You wanted humans to serve you. Now spend your remaining years learning what you did to them. Admiral Chen addressed the galaxy one final time. 31 years ago, the Vrithkai attacked New Cascadia. 18 million died, 4 million were enslaved. We asked the Concord for help. We were laughed at, told to accept money for our children's blood. We've proven them wrong. The Vrithkai Dominion no longer exists. Their military is destroyed. Their leaders face justice. His voice hardened. Let this be a lesson. We don't want war or conquest, but we will defend ourselves and protect our people. We will never allow what happened at New Cascadia to happen again. To any species thinking humans are easy prey, look what we did to the Vrithkai. They were stronger when they attacked. Now they live on reservation worlds stripped of everything. This is what happens to those who threaten humanity. He pointed at the camera. The galaxy told us strength is the only language it understands. We have become fluent. Anyone threatening our people, colonies, or future will face full human vengeance. This isn't warning or negotiation, it's fact. But we're not monsters. We proved that by not exterminating the Vrithkai, by giving fair trials, by showing mercy to populations that showed none to us. Humanity wants peace, to trade, explore, learn, and grow. We want to be part of the galaxy community, but only as equals. Never again as victims, never again as prey.